Ooh, man, that 6.2 V8 will get you into trouble. Anyways, let's get our acceleration. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a driving comparison between this 2021 Chevy Trail Boss with the 6.2 V8, and we're going to drive it against a 2021 Nissan Titan Pro-4X. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Lurch Miller Chevy here in Murray for giving me some time with the Chevy Trail Boss. Check out their inventory link below. Let's get straight into the video. Let's talk about visibility here on the Chevy Trail Boss before we set off. So first off, visibility over the hood is pretty good. The hood is pretty high up in the middle portion though, so it does get in the way a little bit, but it's not bad. There's your visibility through both of the mirrors. They're really large, so they show quite a bit. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear, which, I mean, I feel like every single truck has the same rearward visibility if it's a half ton or a heavy duty. But that all being said, let's set off. Well, we are initially setting off here in the 2021 Trail Boss with the 6.2 liter V8. And the first thing I do want to mention, this definitely feels definitely higher up off the ground. And I mean, it's due in part to that 2-inch suspension lift there on the front ends, and probably a little bit to do with the tires as well. But getting up and going, the 6.2's got great low-end torque, and I love the 10-speed automatic. I wish that Chevy would put this 10-speed in all of their trucks, because this is definitely the transmission to go for. Just shifts really smooth, and it's also quick as well with the shifting. But getting up and going, I mean, on road so far, it's smooth. It drives like it should for a truck, and going over little things, it doesn't seem like they upset the truck whatsoever, which is going to be important for the off-road. You don't want the back end of your pickup truck to be bouncing all over the place if you're taking it off-road, and the brakes are good. It's another plus. Yeah, so much torque out of that 6.2 V8. It's definitely a monster from a torque perspective. And I want you guys to let me know in the comment section below, who else hates it when someone decides to go straight in a turn lane? Like you've got the turn lane that goes straight and turns, but then someone could have moved over, but they still chose not to. Who else hates that? Let me know in the comment section below. I am such an impatient human being. But now that the light is going, let's see kind of how the turning is here with the Trail Boss. Yeah, pretty good with the turn in. That was kind of weird. It kind of seemed like it was searching for a gear there for just a second. But the steering's very light. One thing I do want to mention is I don't feel a whole lot happening with the front end. I definitely get a more of a synthetic feel with the steering, so definitely take that into account. But yeah, it drives so nice, really smooth, and I love the kind of king of the road feel I get in the Trail Boss. Well, we're going over the train tracks. A little bit of vibration with the truck, but still pretty solid. And oh man, that 6.2 V8 will get you into trouble. 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. It is quick. It is definitely quick. I want to try this manual. I want to try this function with the gears. I'm not sure if I'm not doing it right, but it's not. It might be just a gear limiter, it sounds like, because it's not actually. Let's see if I pop it back into the normal mode. It's not actually doing anything. I guess you have to be smarter than the truck guys, because apparently I don't know how to work it. Okay, you know what? We're just not going to worry about that. But let's actually talk about the rest of the stuff here with the Trail Boss. I mean, as you see, the acceleration's great with that 6.2 V8. Tons of torque, so on the off-road, it's going to do really good. I'm glad it actually has an off-road driving mode. That's going to be nice, so that it's kind of the transmission and everything's kind of tuned for the off-road. But yeah, I mean, it's got such good torque. It's really, and it's a really windy day today, by the way, and the truck's just kind of like cutting right through it. But let's sum things up here with the Trail Boss. So first off, I think it looks really good from the outside. It definitely has good road presence, especially in this bright red color. It's definitely a standout. And I love the tires on this truck. The shocks are actually pretty good. All these trucks in this segment are pretty similar from a shock perspective. They don't all use the same shocks, but they all feel pretty similar. This is definitely cool that it has the 2-inch lift on the front end so that it gives a little bit more ground clearance. Yeah, so much torque from that 6.2 V8. And then I do like a lot of the features with this. I like, obviously, the remote start, the drop-down tailgate's a nice little feature. Coming to the interior, I love the seats. These would be really easy to clean if you did take this off-road and got mud all over them because they're not perforated. But since they're not perforated, you don't get the cooled seat function, so that's definitely a little bit of a sad thing. This has auto stop start, and right now the engine's off, so we're saving gas with this big 6.2 V8. But yeah, as for the rest of the interior, I mean, everything's really easy to access. I like the touchscreen, the camera system's really good as well. That's easy to use. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the Trail Boss is great, drives smooth, the shocks are good. And with that being said, let's jump over into the Titan Pro-4X and see how that drives compared to the Trail Boss. Let's talk about visibility here in the Pro-4X before we set off. So first off, you got the visibility over the hood, which is a little bit better than the Trail Boss just because the hood doesn't pop up so much, but then you don't get those cool looks, right? I don't know, it's still, anyways, visibility through the mirrors, really good. And they do have blind spot monitoring. And then here's throughout the rest of the rear. The back rack does kind of get in the way slightly, but it's really not bad whatsoever. And that all being said, let's set off. Oh, we are now setting off in the Titan Pro-4X, and there is actually quite a bit of a difference in terms of how these two trucks feel from a driving perspective. So first off is with the steering of the two trucks. So the Pro-4X has a heavier steering rack, but you do get more feedback. The Chevy steering rack, like I said, it kind of feels more synthetic, but it's really light. This is heavier, but it feels more real, if that makes sense. Like, you actually get a lot more feedback with the steering here in the Pro-4X. You can kind of feel what the front end's doing. And then in terms of the ride quality, they ride pretty similar. I'm not feeling a whole lot of difference between them.
Winter storm warning in about 16.1 miles from current location.
Anyways, other than that interrupting us, they feel pretty similar from a ride quality perspective. There's not a huge difference between both of the trucks. I will say that the tire noise is less in this, but that's kind of expected with off-road tires on a truck. I mean, if you don't expect to have loud tires when you have off-road tires, then I don't know, kind of crazy. It's kind of cool that this is showing that the power is going to the rear and all that. I have this in the off-road status, and I guess we're tilted 5 degrees because this road isn't perfectly even. But yeah, the steering's different, the brakes feel different. And in terms of the transmission though, I feel like they're both equally smooth with the gear shifts. I noticed that the Chevy did, and you guys probably noticed that in video too, the Chevy did kind of search for gears for a second there. I'm not sure what that was all about. This hasn't been doing that, so definitely a key difference with it. In terms of the vehicle getting upset and all that, it really doesn't get upset. I mean, going over these little manhole covers, again, it feels about the same. The shocks with these trucks are different. I've got the, I believe it's the Rancho shocks over on the Trail Boss, and this one's got the Bilstein shocks, but they feel pretty similar in terms of the absorption and everything between the two trucks. Going over the train tracks here, not as much rattling, pretty interesting. But anyways, let's get our acceleration. I mean, there is a power difference between both the trucks, about 20 horsepower, and then there's a little bit of a torque difference. Can you actually feel it? Yes, you feel the torque difference for sure. You can, the Chevy definitely feels it gets a little bit more push, but once you're up and moving, they both feel relatively similar. So it's just off the line that you're gonna feel the biggest difference. Is it a night and day difference though? No, not really. If you'd only driven the Chevy, and then you got into the Titan, you would be able to feel the difference. And then same with the Titan, if you'd only driven the Titan and you got in the Chevy. But if you haven't driven either of them and you got into both of them, they'd both feel like modern trucks that both feel quick from an acceleration standpoint. So solid with that. I think it's impressive that the off-road status is still working even at higher speeds. In my truck, when you go at higher speeds, the system doesn't work anymore, whereas this, it's still showing me the pitch and the roll and everything, which is pretty neat. But let's get into kind of summing things up here with the Titan Pro-4X and really summing things up with this driving comparison between both of the trucks. So from an exterior aesthetics perspective on the Pro-4X, I definitely think it's a really cool looking truck on the outside. The one thing I would say is this truck does have good tires on it. It would be cool to see an option or a package with the Pro-4X where you could get a really aggressive off-road tires. But I mean, that's not a huge deal because ultimately if you wanted more aggressive tires, just go buy them. That's such an easy fix. So I'm not really gonna spend too much time on that. And then from the rest of the appearance, again, it's just a good looking truck. I love the rack on the back. I love the taillights. I love the overall look of this truck. Interior wise, it's really nice for an off-roading truck. All these surfaces, again, would be really easy to clean. Infotainment system's easy to use. All the controls really easy to use. I love that it has heated and cooled seats, whereas the Trail Boss just has the heated seats. And then in terms of the driving, that's where things really feel different. So the shocks and the suspension, that all feels relatively similar. This feels more planted. The Trail Boss kind of feels like it floats around a little bit more. And I guess that's just due to the lift on the front end. But the biggest difference is with the steering feel. This, again, just is a heavier rack, feels more direct, whereas the Chevy is a lot lighter, doesn't feel as direct with the front end. It's harder to tell what's going on in the front end. So there is that key difference with the trucks. And then the brakes do feel a little bit different. And then the acceleration's a little bit different. The Chevy definitely, it has more torque and horsepower, so it feels torquier. But it's not a huge night and day difference where you're gonna be like, man, the Titan's slow. The Titan doesn't feel slow compared to the Trail Boss. And yeah, I mean, that is everything for our driving comparison between the Titan Pro-4X and between the Chevy Trail Boss. Now that is going to sum things up with our driving comparison, comparing the Chevy Trail Boss to the Nissan Titan Pro-4X. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Chevy here in Murray for giving me some time with the Trail Boss. Again, check out their inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.